Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, PLMKU officially filed an amendment to their business combination agreement, and I am seeing significant changes to the deal terms. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. This amendment signals some big shifts, especially concerning how much the company will be valued and how payment will be structured. Let's dive into what is happening with Plum Acquisition Corp, IV, or PLMK as many know it. They filed a Form 8, which basically means a big important event just happened that shareholders need to know about right away. The key date here is the 6th of July 2026, when they signed an amendment to a business combination agreement. This agreement is all about them merging with another company, Controlled Thermal Resources Holdings, Inc. Remember, PLMK is a special type of company called a SPAC, which stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Company. These companies go public to raise money and then find another private company to merge with, essentially taking that private company public. PLMK's structure includes units, each with an ordinary share and half of a redeemable warrant, and also separate ordinary shares and warrants traded on the Nasdaq. The filing details an amendment, the second one actually to their business combination agreement with Controlled Thermal Resources Holdings, Inc. Think of this amendment as a renegotiation of the original deal terms. This second amendment, signed on the 6th of July 2026, changes some really crucial parts of the deal. The original idea was for Plum IV Merger Sub, Inc. to merge with Controlled Thermal Resources Holdings, Inc. One of the biggest changes is to the Earnout shares. Originally, the shareholders of Controlled Thermal Resources could have received up to 100 million shares based on future performance. Now that number has been reduced to 70 million shares. This is a significant cut, meaning the sellers will likely get fewer shares if certain performance targets aren't met. This could signal less optimism about future performance or a tougher negotiation stance. They've also pushed back the deadline for filing antitrust applications related to the merger, moving it from the 31st of July 2026 to the 30th of September 2026. This gives them more time to get regulatory approval, which is often a complex process. Another interesting point is an increase in shares that can be given to Plum Partners IV LLC. This seems to be for shareholders who own founder shares or who agree not to redeem their shares. The number of these shares goes up from 2 million to 3 million. This could be an incentive for key stakeholders to stay with the deal. Perhaps most importantly, the final closing date for the entire merger has been extended significantly. It was originally set for the 31st of December 2026, and now it is pushed all the way to the 30th of April 2027. This extension suggests that the parties needed more time to finalize everything, which could be due to various factors like regulatory hurdles, financing, or other deal complexities. Now, for a really big one, the valuation used to calculate the merger consideration has been drastically reduced. It's going down from a staggering $4.5 billion to $3.15 billion. This means the combined company is now being valued significantly lower than previously agreed upon. For the sellers, this is a substantial decrease in the perceived value of their company. This is a classic indicator of a tough negotiation where the SPAC either found issues or the market climate shifted. This kind of significant reduction in valuation, combined with the extended timeline, often signals that the deal is facing challenges or that the market conditions have changed unfavorably since the initial agreement. It is like agreeing to buy a house for a certain price, and then a few months later realizing the market has dropped, and you renegotiate a much lower price because you have more leverage, or you need more time to secure financing. The filing also mentions that they intend to file a registration statement on Form S-4, which will include a preliminary proxy statement and prospectus. This is the document that shareholders will vote on to approve the merger. It is crucial for shareholders of Plum IV to read this document carefully once it is available, because it will contain all the updated details about the deal, including the risks involved. The company also notes that their directors and executive officers may be considered participants in the solicitation of proxies for the shareholder vote. This is standard language to make sure everyone involved in pushing for the vote is disclosed. And as with most filings like this, there is a section on forward-looking statements. This is essentially a legal disclaimer that says the company is making predictions about the future, but these are based on current expectations and are subject to risks and uncertainties. They're basically saying things might not turn out exactly as planned. This section details a lot of risks, and it's worth paying attention to. One of the key risks mentioned is the possibility that any event, change, or other circumstance could lead to the termination of the business combination agreement. That means the deal could fall apart entirely. Another significant risk is the inability to complete the transactions, perhaps because shareholders don't approve it, or other closing conditions aren't met. With a reduced valuation, shareholder approval might become even more uncertain among the selling party. They also highlight the risk of not being able to keep their securities listed on the Nasdaq or for the combined company to get listed. This is a major concern for any public company. In the risk factors, they talk about risks related to the company's business, like fluctuations in demand and prices for lithium and other critical minerals. This tells us controlled thermal resources is likely involved in the mining or energy sector, and that industry can be very volatile. Competition, regulatory compliance, environmental obligations, and economic conditions are all mentioned as potential challenges. This amended deal is a far cry from the original proposal. The big reduction in valuation from $4.5 billion to $3.15 billion is a huge signal. Historically, when SPACs renegotiate deal terms like this, especially cutting the valuation so drastically, it often means the SPAC or the target company face significant headwinds. For instance, a few years ago, many SPACs that merged with speculative tech or energy companies saw their valuations slashed if the market turned sour or if the target company's business didn't live up to projections. In the case of companies like Bed Bath and Beyond, initial setbacks became a downward spiral. What I'm seeing here is a very clear attempt to salvage a deal that is likely under pressure. The extended timeline gives them breathing room, but the reduced valuation is a tough pill to swallow for the selling shareholders of controlled thermal resources. It suggests that Plum E4 may have found issues during its due diligence. Or the market perception of the combined entity has significantly shifted. The fact that they are still trying to push this through, even with these significant changes, shows a commitment to closing, but it is a much less favorable deal for the company being acquired than it was initially. The risk of the deal falling apart is definitely still there, especially if shareholders aren't happy with the new terms. Now, looking at these results more broadly, Plum Acquisition Corp, IV appears to be navigating some complex negotiations. The significant reduction in valuation is a major point to watch. What I am actually looking for is how the market reacts to this amended deal, and if the projected synergies will still materialize at this lower valuation. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps. And subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description.